Off-road pickup trucks are the hot thing right now. There's the Chevrolet Colorado ZR2, the Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro, the Jeep Gladiator, Rubicon, and Mojave. And now there's this, the Ford Ranger Tremor. So how does this Tremor stack up against the competition? Well, let's go for a drive and find out. Under the hood of the Ford Ranger Tremor, you will find a 2.3-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. This engine produces 270 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque and is mated with a 10-speed automatic transmission. Compared to other mid-size pickup trucks that have naturally aspirated V6 engines, this engine produces pretty much around the same horsepower, but quite a bit more torque. And that torque figure is down low in the RPM range. So as you gently roll your foot on the accelerator pedal, you get that nice surge and boost and power as you accelerate. Better yet, because it is a small turbocharged 4-cylinder engine and it's paired with a 10-speed automatic, fuel economy is actually pretty good, especially on highways. Those fuel economy numbers are 12.1 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 12.3 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. Huh? Yeah, those are the official fuel economy numbers for the Ranger Tremor both in Canada and the United States. The regular 4x4 Ranger has a fuel economy figure of 11.8 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. In the real world, with this Ranger Tremor, I've been averaging 10.9 liters per 100 kilometers on a combined cycle. So clearly, someone effed up when publishing the Tremor fuel economy numbers because I've been getting normal Ranger fuel economy numbers. As for the transmission, the shifts are relatively smooth. I mean, you do feel them if you really put your foot down, but otherwise in everyday driving situations, they're smooth. The problem I have with this transmission is that it's not really the fastest to react to your inputs, like if you stab the throttle, for example, to get a burst of acceleration. And it makes it feel dim-witted because of that. However, the worst thing about this transmission is that when you're just cruising around town, say 60, 70 kilometers an hour, it tries to go in its topmost gear as quickly as possible. And the engine is spinning at around 1200 RPMs at that point. So you really feel that engine struggling to move 2 tons of pickup truck. As a result of that, you get all these vibrations throughout the chassis. So I can feel it through the steering wheel, I can feel it through the seat even right now. I'm doing 60 kilometers an hour and the engine is barely turning over at 1300 RPMs. And I'm just trying to maintain the distance with the vehicle in front of me. So this is the problem with this transmission. It tries to shift way too soon, way too quickly. Of course, you can remedy this by putting it into sport mode, but then fuel economy is going to take a hit. As for on-road handling dynamics, it's okay. I mean, it's a pickup truck, so don't expect it to go around corners like a sports car or anything like that. The Fox shocks, they do resist more of the body roll and nosedive under braking, but it still just feels like a pickup truck. So steering is light and not a whole lot of feedback through your fingertips. However, unlike the Jeep Gladiator, you don't have to constantly give it little inputs just to stay in a straight line. Off the beaten path, the new Tremor package adds underbody skid plates, the aforementioned Fox 2-inch monotube dampers with the rear having piggyback reservoirs, front and rear tow hooks, unique 17-inch alloy wheels with general grabber all-terrain tires, and off-road hoop step style running boards. The Ranger Tremor also has improved approach, departure, and breakover angles compared to other trims of the Ford Ranger. They are 30.9 degrees, 27.2 degrees, and 24.2 degrees respectively. All of this is in addition to a rear locking differential, trail control, which is like cruise control but for slow speed off-roading, and the terrain management system, which adds normal, gravel or snow, mud ruts, and sand off-road drive modes. Compared to other mid-size off-road ready pickup trucks, the Ranger Tremor doesn't have a front locking differential like the Colorado ZR2, and it doesn't have a disconnecting sway bar like the Gladiator Rubicon. So it's not quite as off-road capable as those trucks, but the Ranger can still tackle most off-road situations. The ride of the Ford Ranger Tremor is a little bit stiffer because of the Fox shocks. On city streets, you will feel more bumps and manhole covers. If you have an unloaded bed like how I do right now, the truck feels a little bit more jittery when you go over a bump. And as for noises inside the cabin of the Ford Ranger, obviously the tires are going to make a lot of noise, especially when you're driving on highways. Wind noise is also evident on highways, especially around the mirrors. However, the worst thing about this truck in terms of NVH is, like I said earlier, that transmission. It tries to get the RPMs as low as possible for better fuel economy. However, that introduces a lot of vibrations throughout the cabin. It's not as bad when you're driving on highways at higher speeds because the engine's RPMs are spinning at around 1500 to 1700, but when you're going 60, 70 kilometers an hour, then it gets bad. Inside the Ford Ranger Tremor, it looks and feels very much like a Ford product. On the steering wheel, you have the same physical buttons that you would find in other Ford vehicles. The physical buttons for the climate and the volume and tuning knobs, they're all pretty much identical as in other Ford vehicles. It hasn't really changed since its introduction to North America in 2019. There are, though, a couple of differences compared to the other Ford Ranger that I test drove back in 2019. Firstly is this little piece of plastic that's right in front of the passenger seat where it says Ranger on it. In the Tremor, it's more of a matte black piece of plastic, whereas in the Lariat that I test drove back in 2019, it was more of a shiny, glossy black type of plastic, so I prefer this much more. And also you get a row of auxiliary buttons right above the infotainment screen, so if you want to put on some LED lights and more LED lights on this Ford Ranger, you can easily switch them on and off with these auxiliary buttons. But as for everything else, everything is very straightforward, and although there are quite a lot of buttons, I am not complaining because I love physical buttons. In terms of space though, there is plenty of it for my 6'4" height. I got plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom. I do like the fabric that these seats are upholstered in. It's a mix of suede and leather. The leather feels a little bit coarse, but the suede does feel really nice. Anyway, let's go check out the back now. In the back of the Ford Ranger, there isn't a whole lot of legroom, especially if you have someone of my height sitting in the front, because with this seat in my driving position, I feel very squished. There is a little bit of an indentation in the back, but it's still too far back. However, the seats, they do carry over the same materials as the front seats do, so suede in the center with leather on the side. You have cup holders right here. There's a 110 volt outlet and a couple of USB ports. And if you lift up the bench, unfortunately it doesn't lift up 60/40, it's the whole bench, you will find a little bit of underseat storage. However, those storages are really tiny. And you can fold these backrests down to make it completely flat if you want to. And that's about it for the back. Further back in the bed of the Ford Ranger Tremor, you won't find any trick tailgate. Actually, it's not even a damped tailgate. You also won't find too many tie-down points or a power outlet. In this Super Crew configuration, the bed is 5 feet in length, but the width is a bit more than its competitors. So the Ranger has a tiny bit more cargo box volume, and it has a max payload rating of 1,430 pounds with the Tremor package. A lower trim supercab Ranger has a max payload rating of 1,650 pounds. As for towing, all trims of the Ford Ranger are rated at 7,500 pounds. The Tremor package will set you back $5,250 Canadian and is only available on 4x4 XLT and Lariat trims of Super Crew configured Ranger models. The XLT trim Ranger starts at $37,158 Canadian, with the Lariat starting at $41,538 Canadian. As for gadgets, this Lariat trim of the Ranger comes with pretty much everything you would need from a pickup truck. It's not as lavishly equipped as a Ram TRX, but it's not as sparse as a Neanderthal's Cave either. You'll get satellite navigation, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity, heated seats, heated steering wheel, front and rear parking sensors, backup camera, automatic climate control, adaptive cruise control, automatic emergency braking, blind spot sensors, lane departure warning with lane keep, LED headlights, and push-button start with keyless entry. So in the end, the Ford Ranger Tremor has some good stuff, but also some not so good stuff about it. So firstly, the engine, it's got plenty of power and it's actually pretty fuel efficient, especially if you drive a lot on highways. The Tremor package is more than capable to take this Ranger off-roading, like how I am right now, albeit this is light off-roading, but it is capable. And it can carry a lot of stuff in the back, and it can tow pretty much the same as all the other mid-size pickup trucks. However, the bad stuff is the interior is starting to really show its age, and worse yet is that transmission. It just feels so unrefined compared to other transmissions in other pickup trucks. But the worst thing that this Ranger has going for it is that literally today, as I'm filming this, Ford unveiled the new generation Ford Ranger. And I gotta say, it looks very sharp. I can't wait to test drive that one. But until then, if you want to know more about this Ford Ranger Tremor, I wrote a more detailed review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description, or click the pop-up banner up here. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck, or most likely, it'll probably be an SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.